Guys, have I got a good one for you today. It's time we step up our game with the Cougar since we're going to do the Southeast Street and Yeet Drag and Drive, and I'm going to show you exactly how we're going to step up our game. It's all in that sticker right there.
I'd say it's a nut job.
Anybody that's followed this channel for any amount of time know I'm a naturally aspirated guy. I've always been a naturally aspirated kind of guy. But if money's a little tight and you have a vehicle that, let's be honest, it's really not fast enough to compete with today's street cars, what's the cheapest way to make it competitive? Yeah, you know, a little giggle juice. That'll make it work. Maybe. Before I show you what we're putting on it, let's take a walk around the car. If you haven't seen the car, it's been a couple of videos recently, but if you haven't seen the car, and let's talk about exactly what this car is. And I want your opinion. Is this a street car? Is this truly the definition of street car? And I got a reason for asking you that. Let's walk around and ignore the wires over here. I've got to clean that up. That's from when we took it on Power Tour and I had an issue and one of those side of the road fixes. What we have here is a little Windsor motor. It's bored out and it has a mild cam in it. Has a Torquer 2 intake on it. And that's pretty much it. That's all it's really done to it. Does have this VRS on it. It's a VRS. It's a VRS 850. Great carburetor. Does have an MSD standalone ignition on it. Got a belt drive on the front. Nothing over the top. It's just, it is what it is. Let's slide this down just a little bit. None of the body has been modified. All steel, including this scoop. Steel. Running Krager wheels. It has 14s on the front, 15 by 10s on the back. It's got a 295/50 on the back, and I don't remember what that is on the front. I think it's a 185 something 14 on the front. Pretty well. It's got a C4 transmission in it with an aftermarket shifter, a couple of aftermarket gauges. Other than that, it's just like it came in from the factory. Matter of fact, that's actually the correct transmission for the car. Now, I did add this roof rack just for the use on the drive and drag because I want a place to put my slicks and I don't want to haul a trailer with me. I want it to be real street car as it gets. No offense to people who use trailers. It's just what I think. To run those 295s on the back, it does have the old school Skyjacker air shocks on the back of it. Now, yes, I'm about to put nitrous on this car. I'm about to put nitrous on this car because I know what the car runs now. I know exactly as it sits. I know what the car runs. And honestly, it's probably a full second off the pace from being where it needs to be for me to feel comfortable that it could win a class at Street and Yeet. And that's based off last year's numbers. So everybody may show up this year and be 3 seconds faster, and I'm behind the ball anyway. But we're going to give it a chance. I'm not going to guarantee victory. What I'm going to do is say we're going to give it a fighting chance and put some spray on this thing and hope we can gain enough to be competitive. Now, the reason I showed you around this car, and before I show you the nitrous kit we're putting on it, what's your definition? Is this a street car? All real glass, real steel, all the lights, everything on it works. It's just like it came from Ford, with the exception of a few little things like the wheels and tires, the air shocks on the back, this hood scoop. Let me explain. The reason this hood scoop is on here is because with that intake, the hood will not shut. And when I bought this car, it had the transmission still in it, but the original motor was long gone. So I put a motor together out of parts I had laying around here. Just whatever I had laying. That motor that's in this thing is basically free. And I didn't want to spend the money to buy another intake when the body on this car is not perfect. It's not. It's beat and banged, and it's got bad spots in it, and it's had some bad body work. It's flaking off, if you know what I mean. So to me, it was the easier of the two. Just cut a little hole in the hood and just put this on here. Just keep, you know, frame and limbs and stuff. Other than that, it's factory. Is this a street car? What's your opinion? The reason I ask that is because there's a, I'm not going to point anybody out because I'm not trying to bring negativity to them, but there is a race going on similar to a drive and drag. It is not a drive and drag, despite what they try to say. Going on in a couple of weeks, and it's about 700 miles from here. I was going to load this car up with some luggage, and I was going to drive this car to that race and compete in that race in their street car class. This car does not meet the rules for their street car class. Let me know what you think. We'll go into the reasons why and all that later. But as this car sits right now, before I even put nitrous on it, with no nitrous, naturally aspirated, C4, just basically as Ford produced it, with the exception of those couple of things I told you about, this car is not legal for a street car class. So I want to know what you think. Is this a street car? Do you consider this a street car? So anyway, now let's move on to the goodies, to what you actually came to see in this video. Here it is. Here's our goodies. Our kit from Nitrous Express. We reached out to our friends at Nitrous Express and basically explained to them what we were doing. Now, as you know, I'm a naturally aspirated guy. I'm not a power add or any kind guy. But for what this kit cost, and for the power potential that it can make, I'm starting to understand more about why people go this route. It would have cost me 5 times, and this is no exaggeration, 5 times the amount of money to build a naturally aspirated motor that'll make the horsepower that this will make. I know that because I build naturally aspirated motors. I think this is the perfect candidate for it because it's not a crazy big motor, and it's a good running engine, and it's got some decent parts inside of it. Yes, it's not overly built, but the parts that are inside of it are good parts. So I think this is the perfect way to go. So I reached out to these guys, and I told them what I was doing. Super friendly folks. They're just great to deal with. So we have a kit here that will lend itself up to 350 horsepower as it sits in this box. But with a couple minor tweaks, it could go more. But I don't see the need for me to ever need more than 350 horsepower. Matter of fact, we're not going that big on this car. This is also a kit that if we decide to use everything except the plate, we can call them back and they'll sell me a kit that has 2 plates so it can go on Legacy that has 2 carburetors, and everything else in this kit will work. So let's dig into what we got here, and you can see what the parts are, and we can talk about it as we get ready to stick it on this Cougar and see if we can't peel some of the paint off going down the track. We're going to make use of my favorite workbench here, the hood of the ramp truck, and see what we got here. Here's our bottle clamps. Clamp our bottles down. Looks like all of our nuts and electronics, our hose, relay, wiring. Not sure what this is in here. We'll have to get it out and see. That's one. Let's see what's in this other one right here. Should be our, yes. So here is our plate, our solenoids, all of our jets. We got a micro switch to go on the carburetor, the plate for it. There are fittings here, some longer studs, which we won't need. I'll show you why. And then we have, of course, our plate with our spray bar. This is a very nice plate. If you look at this plate, it's different than the ones that we see on a lot of the others. A lot of the others just have like a round metal tube going through here. This is all molded into one piece. We'll have to look at it, I think. Yeah, we'll look at this before I say what I think. And there's a QR code to your installation instructions. What else we got in here? Of course, the bottle is in here as well. We don't need the bottle at the moment. This right here is a progressive programmer that I picked up from them as well. That comes with its own wiring harness, a little pocket screwdriver, which is very nice. Got a little magnet on the back of it. I like that. This programmer right here is called the Maximizer EZ. Now, the reason this is the programmer I went with, I told the guys over there, listen, I'm a nitrous dummy. I need something that is very simple for me to work. I understand the basics, but I don't want to have to sit down and figure and think. And I've seen some of the controllers where you can go in there and they've got the little dots. You can move them up and down throughout the whole band. And that stuff is awesome if you know how to use it. I'm not smart enough to know how to use that yet. I'm afraid that I don't have enough time to get comfortable with it before the drag and drive. We've only got about 3 weeks, maybe even 2 weeks now. I'd have to look at the calendar. We only got a few weeks to the drive and drag, and I'm afraid I wouldn't have time to get comfortable figuring out, what point throughout the RPM range to change and dip. And listen, that stuff is great. It's just not for me right now. So I went with the Maximizer EZ after talking to the guys. And basically, I told them that, listen, I'm a nitrous dummy. I need something that is elementary school. Do you have something that's just got a knob I can turn and let it do its own thing? He said, I got exactly what you're thinking of. He pointed me out to this. Basically, you unplug your relay, and that plugs into where your relay is on your wiring harness. You don't even have to think about how to wire it. It's got a simple dial on it. So how this works is when you hit it, you get 20%. As soon as it comes on, it gives you 20% of whatever you're jetted for. To make the math easy, I'm going to say it like this. You've got a 100 shot, and I use a 100 shot for an example because the math is easy. As soon as you go wide open throttle on your micro switch flips on, you get 20 horsepower. And then you can ramp the rest of it in from 0, which means you'd get 100 horsepower off the bat, all the way up to 4.5 seconds. So you could ramp it out to 4.5 seconds before 100% of it came in. As simple as just whatever you want. Do you want all in, in 1 second? Do you want all in 3 seconds? Whatever you want, you can dial it in with this. This is exactly what I was looking for, and those guys are smart enough to understand what I was trying to say, even if I wasn't smart enough to understand what I was asking for. I told them, I wanted the most simple controller that I could get, and just be able to turn a knob and forget about it. That's what I got. I got a bare bones controller that will give me from 0 to 100 in a maximum of 4 seconds. I'm sorry, 4.5 seconds. Now, at 100 shot, I don't think that would be necessary to spread it out like that. But you know, if you're going to use the full 350 shot, then you might want to not, you know, just hammer your motor all at one time, especially if it's not technically a nitrous motor. So let's look at some of this other stuff we've got here and take it step by step and see what we got. Now, as I was saying, here's the plate with a spray bar and all the goodies for it. This plate right here, it's only about a 1/2 inch thick, I think. My dilemma right now is, if we go back over here to the car, I have a 1-inch plate under the carburetor right now. Kind of on the fence about, do I want to leave the 1-inch plate under there and add this to it? I think I'm going to pull the 1-inch plate out and put this in, I think. We may mock it up without the 1-inch plate and see how it sits, just to make sure the solenoid doesn't interfere with anything, and go from there. Again, I'm going to learn with you guys. Take a look at this plate. This thing is super nice. You can see, look at this is leaps and bounds from the old metal tube that ran through there. This is super nice. Smart on the ends, fuel, nitrous, marked. Very easy to see which way it goes. Man, this is very, very nice, and you can see maybe those holes are angled. Very nice, very nice. All right, so we know our bottles in our box, and we're going to leave that alone right now. So I think right now I'm going to figure out. I'm going to go with these little right here. In. So if that's supposed to go out, then that means that has to go this way. All right. So now I guess the real question is, do I want to leave the 1-inch spacer plate under the carburetor and add this on it? Or do I want to take the 1-inch spacer plate off and just run this? Technically, there's already a hole in the hood, so I have the hood space. It's not going to hurt it to move everything up. Is it a 1/2 inch? But you know, that's something I got to think about. Do I want to find longer studs? Yeah, you'll figure it out as I do. Okay, kind of got this mocked up on here. I don't have anything actually extremely tight yet. Just kind of mocked everything up for space and clearance. I think I'm going to leave the 1-inch plate just because this solenoid right here is kind of close to the distributor. And I think if I drop it down, it's going to hit this temperature sending unit right here, which is, you know, kind of close here. So I'm going to leave the spacer under it and run it like that. I think that's going to be my best bet. I don't have any of these extremely tight yet because I'm going to have to rotate this one just a little bit so that my fuel outlet can be where I need it to be for me to run fuel to it. The nitrous one is fine, I think. I think it'll work where it's at without any issues. I don't think we'll have any problems with that one. I think that's going to work just fine. I'm going to have to put longer studs in. The carburetor is just laying right there right now. Again, checking clearance on everything to make sure everything's kind of where to clear and be out of the way. It looks like everything's going to be fine here. I don't think I'm going to have any issues. I think I'm going to rotate that solenoid right there so the nitrous line can just go straight down instead of out the side. Same thing up here. I think I'm going to rotate this solenoid so the fuel can just come straight up from the bottom. Okay, skirt, sock, hold up, put the brakes on. I decided to take the 1-inch spacer out after all. And just loosen the nut up and raise this solenoid up. Still plenty of room between it and the distributor. I was running into an issue where this fancy adjustable throttle linkage, because it was so high in the air, it was getting in a weird angle and was going to have to be made longer. Plus, I was going to have longer studs. I don't think I need the 1-inch spacer. I don't think it has to have it. So I'm going to ditch the 1-inch spacer for right now. We're going to try it without it and go that route. See, I got plenty of room with everything. Everything sits just fine. All I got to do is adjust these so that the fuel inlet goes in where I want it to, and the nitrous inlet can go in, so it's not in competition with the fuel line back there, anything like that. So that's the way we're going to go. Some of y'all can probably laugh at me a little bit, but again, it's not my normal forte here, nitrous. So I understand, again, the basics, but one little thing that's tripping me up here, and I'm going to have to go inside, sit down in front of the computer, and dig around for some instructions, because it's not very clear. Some of you probably know right off the bat how to do this. I do not. But the momentary switch here, to activate it, you get the little momentary switch. Very simple. And you get this bracket with it. But I can't exactly figure out how it mounts on this bracket and works and mounts to the carburetor both. I'm a little confused on how it mounts. So I'm going to have to go in here and do some reading and some figuring, because it would make sense in my mind that these holes go through like a stud, but then that puts this on its side, which wouldn't work. This has to go up and down, which means then this has to go up and down. Yeah, I hadn't wrapped my head around this piece yet here, but we've got everything else kind of mocked up. I hadn't tightened anything down. I didn't put bolts back on the carburetors yet, but I've got the solenoids where I want them. I've got the fittings on the solenoids, the plates under there. Everything clears. Everything's fine. Everything's got plenty of room. So now I just got to figure out that momentary switch, and then I'll have it licked. But I hadn't quite figured out how that mounts on the carburetor just yet. All right, so after much deliberation on this whole flat bracket dealio, micro switch and flat bracket, I kind of like the idea of the micro switch, but I can't find any information on this flat bracket. None of the instructions even show this bracket. So instead of trying to figure all that out, I'm just going to simplify my life. I know somebody out there right now screaming at the TV going, no, all you got to do is this and it works. That's fine. But I have decided what I'm going to do for this particular application. I'm not going to use the micro switch out here, the wide open throttle switch. I'm actually just going to put, they make a T-handle that matches this T-handle here with a button right in the side. So I'm just going to put a button in the side of the handle. I mean, I have to shift it by hand anyway. My hand's already going to be there. It's not really going to be any different. And that way, if I get into trouble, I can just take my hand off the button and it's going to quit putting nitrous to it. I know in theory, if you pedal it, it'll take it off. But also, if I pedal it, since I got a controller with a ramp in it, it's going to start to ramp over. Maybe I'm just overthinking it, and you guys that fool nitrous all the time probably know I'm overthinking it. But I think
to start with on this one, I'm just going to have a button in it and call it good. Just keep it simple. Okay, it's where I'm going to leave it for today. I'm going to get back after it tomorrow. Just fired the car up, checked for vacuum leaks. There is none. We're good. I'm back to where I started with this morning, a running car. Tomorrow we're going to clean this wiring up and wire the nitrous system. Plumb in the fuel lines, the nitrous lines, get all that stuff plumbed in. And I'm pretty sure I've sold myself on a button on the T-handle. I think that's the way I'm going to go. That'll be a good enough situation, because I'm going to be here. I'm going to have my hand here anyway shifting. It won't be any big deal. They make one, the button straight out the side. Just hold the button, bang the gears, let the progressive controller control everything, just like a wide open switch, and then I can let off at the big end of the track. Everything's okay. I think that's the way I'm going to go. We'll come out, I'm going to call it a day today and come out in the morning, and we'll start plumbing the rest of it. Well, we've got everything under the hood done except the wiring, and we want to save the wiring to last, which means now we've got to mount the precious. Now, if you haven't done this before, and I'm no nitrous expert, if you haven't done this before, there's a tube in these bottles that run down to the lower corner. So you want to put them in with the nipple down, and you don't want them flat. You want them at an angle so they can suck all the nitrous out of the bottle. This is a pretty good setup here from Nitrous Express. All aluminum too. There's no plastic or anything here. Even the knob here is a chunk of aluminum. So, hey, and it's got right here on the side, if you want to weigh this and know exactly what you got in the bottle, weight of cylinder and gas should be 24 pounds. This thing should be weighing 24 pounds when it's full. So there you go. You can check your own nitrous bottle, put it on a scale, and see if it's 24 pounds. But let's go ahead and get this mounted up, and I'll show you where I'm going to mount it in this car. Well, as I've said many times in this video, the car is still packed from Power Tour. So I'll get all the stuff from over here out of the way. We're going to mount the bottle right here. I think that's the most appropriate place for it. I think it's going to go right there just like that. That's my plan so far, unless something happens that leads me to believe that that plan won't work. Let me get the clamps out, and we'll take a look at that and see if that's going to work out for us. So back over here to my favorite workbench, start getting some of this stuff here unwrapped. Here's one of them. Here's our other clamp. Now remember how I said it was on an angle? If you look at the clamps, one has a almost flat bottom, one has a tall bottom. They sit like this. Pretty hard to screw up. All right, let's get these clamped on the bottle. The taller one will go in the front, just like this. All right, top one, put the bottom one on. I don't think it really matters which direction you turn them. It's just the OCD is strong in this one, and I want them all the same way. Plus, I think the space in the car is going to be better this way. All right. Now let's test fit this and see if it sits like it's supposed to. Now, as I said before, important that it runs downhill. Let's see here. I think that's what I want right there. The problem is this right here has a little kick up in it, so my bolts aren't flat, but I think it'll work just fine. Put it right in there
and run my hose right up through there, and it'll be out of the way of everything. I don't think it'll have any issues with the trunk closing or with stuff packed in here. I think that's the way we're gonna go right there. Move it up just a hair. I got plenty of room. My fist fits in there. Clamps are flat. Yeah, I think that's the way we're gonna go. And there's plenty of room. Oh yeah. I'm nowhere near it. I think that's gonna work right there. So I think we're gonna mount it right there on the passenger side of the trunk floor. All right, so I stuck my armed button right here. That's my arm button. It ain't tight yet because I got to run the wire to it. This old center console used to have a bunch of like little dummy lights in it. They're long gone. So, and this is my armed button for the nitrous. I wanted it way over there, away from everything. So it's no way it can accidentally be hit. You've got to literally work your way around, arm it, and then my plan is to put the shifter knob in here that's got the button on the side. I'm gonna put the same shifter knob in here. Be the button on the side. You just hang on to it and go. There you go. We have a complete nitrous system uh, done, except for the wiring, because I'm changing the shifter knob and I'm putting a knob with a button on it, and I don't have that yet. I'm waiting on it to get here, so there's no reason for you to wait with me on a button. We've got it jetted so that I think it'll put us where we need to be, but we got to test on it. Now, I don't know when I'm going to get the test. I wanted to go tonight and test. That is not going to happen because I don't have my little go fast button. So, next week, maybe. Um, Man, I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a great setup. Again, this wasn't no educational video. This was just you watching an idiot fumble through a nitrous system. So all I've got left to do is wire in the hot button, the activation switch, power switch, whatever you want to refer to it as. I've got to wire that in, and I've got to wire in my go button, and it'll be done. In the next video, I will show you how to set the progressive controller up. Again, it's an idiot proof when it's literally a knob. So I'll show you how all that works in the next video when we take it to the track. Probably not the next video you'll see on the channel, but the next video I do on the car, because we are trying to get ready to do this street and yeet, and we're getting very excited about it. It's coming and not the best time with all the stuff we had going on with the hurricane and cleaning up, and bills didn't stop. Plus, we were taking stuff and supplies to other places. So, money wise, it's not coming at the best time, but we're still committed to putting on one hell of a show and doing our very best to try to win a class in street yeet. We're going to give it all we can to see if we can make this car just get right in there and get into that spot where it needs to be. Now, how likely is it? I don't know. I'm basing what I'm putting in this car, I'm basing off what the times were at last year's street and yeet. We all know that's probably a dangerous game to play because cars get faster and people work on cars and things change. But you never know. I don't know. We're gonna do what we can. Now, as I always say, if you'd like to help us out in any way, I will put a link in the video. You can actually give, I don't know if they're called stars or what they're called on here. If you want to give a little bit to help the process, if you want to, buy us a meal on the road or maybe even a hotel room, because otherwise we're going to be sleeping on the ground at the track, and it might be getting kind of cold this year. I don't know. But either way, if you want to help us out, I'll put a link in that you can help us out with any amount you want to. It'll be in the description. Also, don't forget our friends over at Greasy's Garage. You've seen advertisements we've done on their products. They make these killer freaking hand soaps and stuff that I'm telling you, it's the best cleaning stuff I've seen. And I'll be taking some of it with me on Street and Yeet to keep our hands and stuff clean while we, you know, inevitably have to work on the car while we're on the road. So we'll be doing that. Check them out. I will put a link to their website in the description as well. Use code Bobby10 and you'll get 10% off your order. Nitrous Express, I cannot thank them enough. Nitrous Express really helped us out on this setup here, getting it here in time, and getting us a setup that I think is going to work great with the car. And as a matter of fact, actually walking me through what they suggested the setup was for the car. And I'll give them credit. They did not try to sell me the biggest kit they had, the most expensive kit they had. They didn't do any of that. They literally walked me through and said, we think this is going to be the best kit you can use. But if you don't want to spend the money on this kit, we do have this kit that you can use, but I don't think you're going to enjoy it as much as you would this kit. And they gave me the difference between them, told me what all the breakdowns were, the difference between the kit, what worked better, what didn't work as good, and walked me through it and allowed me to make the decision that I wanted to make. And I greatly appreciate that. It was no trying to upsell me on anything. It was, here's what it is. And if if you want something else, you can get something else. But this is what you need. So greatly appreciative of them. And I asked you at the very beginning of the video if you think that is a street car or not. Let me know what you think. You've seen the car. You've seen me walk around the car. You've seen me tinker with the car now. You've seen multiple videos on the car. Is that a street car in your opinion? I asked that because there is a race going on next week, I believe, that we actually were going to go to with that car. It's about 750 miles from here, and I was going to drive that car from here to there and go to that race. But that car doesn't fit the street car rules. So, I want to know your opinion on that. We'll leave it at that. I'll say as I always do, God bless each and every one of you. Thank you so much for those who subscribe. Thank you so much for those who share and comment, thumbs up, all that stuff. We appreciate you so much. We are so close to 10,000 subscribers now. I only say that in the video because one day I want to look back on this and go, man, we were just getting started. So keep that in mind when you hit that subscribe button. It really does mean something to us, and we really do appreciate each and every one of you. God bless you. I hope the Lord blesses you more today than he did yesterday. To him be the glory each and every day. Guys, we'll see you on the next one. Hopefully this video wasn't too boring for you, and it get kind of long, so y'all stay tuned. We'll see you on the next one where we'll hopefully have some more good car content, and before long we're going to be hitting the track with a Cougar and testing it. I've got to get a set of slicks here, and I've got to get my little go button knob here, and once we get those two things here, we'll be hitting the track with it. So we'll see you on the next one.
I'd say he's a nut job.